Wall Street to Main Street to help small business owners have the same capital as corporate America and give them the same resources as a larger company. We cover business funding, business credit, scaling, business consulting, and much more. Check out the website at shieldadvisorygroup.com. Welcome to the show, The Liquid Lunch Project.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Liquid Lunch Podcast. I am Matt Meehan alongside my partner in crime, Luigi, the Professor Rosa Bianca. Guys, we got a real treat for you today. We got a friend of mine on the podcast who's done 7 and 8 figures in manufacturing, and he's working on some really cool stuff. Outside of that, he's going to have one of the top ranked podcasts on Apple. I think he's just about the 150 mark right now. Is that right?
Yep. Yeah, we just broke into 150 and below, making that push to top 100 business podcasts in America. So
awesome. With that being said, let me guys introduce you to my friend, Callye Keen. Callye, why don't you tell us about the podcast, what you got going on? Because you're always doing something, my man.
What's up, man? Hey, well, first of all, thanks for having me on. I love doing these shows. It gives me a chance to really connect with a whole new audience and talk about things from a new perspective. So that's fantastic. But yeah, the podcast, I really got into it, because I couldn't do events. I couldn't do speaking engagements like I would normally. I would do something for the community. I would do something at universities. I do, trade shows and things like that, and you can't do it. So I just went all in on the podcast. It's called End Hype, Product Entrepreneurship for Impact, because I believe that entrepreneurship is the best, if not the only vehicle to help you achieve your personal goals, whether that's health, that's financial freedom, that's time freedom, that's whatever you want to do. If it's impacting your community, it's impacting your life. Building a business and growing it is the best way to do it. So I'm out there trying to get people to launch and grow physical product businesses.
I love that. So you're taking an idea to an actual business in the physical product realm, right? Yeah. And I know you're doing something pretty cool right now. So why don't you jump in just a little bit to tell us from paper to a product to a business? Yeah.
So the idea of physical products, it can be overwhelming for people. And I say everyone is an inventor and everyone is sitting on $1 million idea. And that's like not hyperbole. My podcast is called End Hype. I am a pretty straight shooter because I'm from the engineering and manufacturing world. We're not much on fluff of any kind, but literally everyone is sitting on a 7-figure idea. And the people that are out there that are service providers, your coaches, you already have an existing business, you're missing a 7-figure revenue stream. And that's not lifetime, that's per year that you're just not doing because you don't have a physical product component to your business. But I understand it. It's my background. I see it because I do it every day. It might be outside of your vision, right, to do it. So I launched this thing called the Ultimate Product Launch Campaign, where week after week, I go live and I show people, this is what I did this week. I'm going from a clean sheet of paper to launching a product on Kickstarter. And then I actually have some kind of more, I don't want to disclose it yet, but we're going to scale that business and possibly sell that business as well. That's the stage 2. But I'm going to show every step of the way. I'm releasing a cheat sheet for each week. So here's what we did. We went out and talked to people. This is how you talk to people constructively and analyze that information and turn it into business opportunities. Here's how you turn those business opportunities and do competitive analysis. Here's how you take the competitive analysis, create winning products. Here's how you source winning products. Here's how you work with manufacturers. Here's how you work with influencers. So we're doing this week after week after week. So people can just take this as a blueprint. I know other people are selling this for like $10,000 and $20,000. I'm doing it for free because I don't care. I run a real business. I don't care. I want people, I've done this for 15 years. Other people have done it for a couple of years. So they're trying to cash out. I want people to grow 7-8 figure businesses and then remember me and be like, I have a question. I have an obstacle for my real business. I'm going to get a real business expert to solve that. And then you hire me for an actual, a big boy job. Yeah.
That's awesome. Hey, Callye, let's dive in there for a second. So there's a lot of these gurus, right? A lot of these workbooks that are put together that people are selling for $10,000 and $20,000. And
yeah,
they're in different industries and segments in the market. And then you turn around and you realize half of these people putting these workbooks together are just blatantly copying it from somewhere else and have no experience with it at all.
Yeah, it's the craziest thing. But I'll tell you something that now this doesn't justify this behavior, right? But it will help you understand the origins of why people are accepting this into reality, because this is my absolute mission. This is, you can go on my site. When you scroll down to the bottom, it says end hype. We are sick of people. We're sick of fake gurus. We're sick of academics that have never done it. We're sick of business books that should be 5 pages that are 200 pages. I'm just sick of all this behavior. I jumped in the startup world and I saw it there. I speak at universities. I see it there, right? Is that people construct, this is the way to do something, but they've never done it. Or they say, let me give you advice. Matt, let me show you how to launch a physical product. I did it and they've done it one time. So they're confusing survivor bias for like the one true path, right? And I'm like, I understand, because we go through school and they say, this is the steps. Don't look into it too much, just understand. So we're kind of queued up for this, and people need opportunities. They need information. But this fake guru like craze, it drives me nuts, because almost every one of those courses, they cannot help your business. I'm going to tell you this 100%, they can't help your business, because when we look at systems and we look at system level thinking, I won't dive too deep into this because this gets crazy. A business is a interconnected system of things, right? So if I teach you how to run the best marketing campaign on earth, you can't fulfill that business. Your operations are terrible. Your hiring is terrible, right? Your operating procedures are terrible. Like you won't actually grow. And that's why I hate these courses, is because we go through a process of identifying goals, personal goals, and then business goals. We drive business goals from personal goals. We build a brand that actually delivers a promise to people. And then we start building products and operations based on that promise. So people are like, oh, just teach me how to do influencers. I want to do influencer marketing. I'm like, I can teach you the best way to do collaborative launches and influencer type work. And people aren't teaching it, but it's a piece of my system. And if you don't use the whole system, all you do is piss off an influencer, annoy your customers, look spammy, and you're not going to create a real business out of it. Like, and that's like the biggest annoyance to me, is people are selling fractions of tactics as if they were strategies and principles. And I'm really hot on this. I'm really passionate about it. So I'll leave it at that, though.
Yeah, they don't know. That's right. I think people forget a business is a bunch of little things that are connected together. As you said, you can have the greatest marketing in the world, but if you can't fulfill on that marketing and your promise, you're not going to have a business at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
Me and Luigi we work with a lot of small businesses, right? And we can always tell what area is not working inside of their business. Everybody wants to scale. They want to get more revenue. They want to build their business more, but they don't want to lay the foundation. So when they get those contracts and they're scaling, it runs like a smooth machine. Unfortunately, people don't realize, and we see it a lot of the time, that you can do $1 million in revenue, but if you spend 1.2, it doesn't make any sense. So why are you trying to get to 3? Let's get your margins better instead, right?
Yeah. Callye, you mentioned something really interesting early on, how a small business is an ecosystem, right? Mm-hmm. It's a self-contained ecosystem, but the members of that ecosystem are individuals, and you've got a pretty busy schedule. You take a lot on. Your public appearances, your podcast, your Clubhouse appearances, you're running a business. How do you manage your lifestyle and your day-to-day routine? Because you're either a super disciplined human or you don't sleep.
Well, I could use more sleep, I'll tell you that right now. But I think that's just like a pernicious issue across entrepreneurs, right? So I'm going to take back to something that you said, is that I actually don't believe that a business is an ecosystem of individuals. I think that businesses more and more are collections and cooperatives of multiple organizations. So my one company, Red Blue Collective, it's founded on this principle. It's a virtual network organization where we bring people in. I actually try their services, and I use them myself to do things like our product launch that we're doing. And that's how I vet out new vendors. But my videographer, he doesn't work for me. The guy that does all of my personal sourcing and my sourcing for Kform, he's not an employee, right? The people that help me with marketing strategy or that I kick around, they run their own marketing companies, right? So what we end up doing is we create our own ecosystem.
Matt, he's reading to us the Shield Advisory Group script.
That's our playbook. That's our playbook.
Yeah, because like, look, guys, you can understand this. If I needed information on finances, what's better, me trying to search on Google and becoming an expert in it, or hiring you guys? And here's the crazy part is the best people in the world are unemployable, hands down. And I don't mean unemployable as in that they're worthless, they can't hold down a job. It means that they already have their business, right? I have a client right now and they're making a job description for somebody. And I said, well, the person that has that job description runs a business. That person is not hireable. They're contractable. They could be a consultant for you, but an employee looks like this. They do these because these other responsibilities, that's only somebody that would be an entrepreneur that runs a business that does that piece. So I firmly believe it. Your best resources are unhireable.
Yeah, we're big believers in that too. We do a lot of joint ventures or collectives. Yeah. So can you dive deeper into the Red Blue Collective? I'm really interested to learn a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So 5.5, 6 years ago now, but what I did was through Kform, I've developed hundreds of products like for Fortune 100 companies, Fortune 500, government entities, high growth startups. As my brother and I have taken over the day-to-day operations of Kform, we honed down who we worked for, what our value proposition was, what our expertise is. And that's, we could go into that, but that's the majority of why that business has grown so much, is we have the same equipment as everyone else, right? So I'm in a facility with like $6 million worth of equipment, right? We have the same equipment as the guys down the street, but our value proposition is very specific. And what we do for customers is really different. But I liked working with entrepreneurs better than working for big aerospace companies, because like you work for the big company and they just say like, okay, well, you're going to be eligible to bid on this next project. You work for an entrepreneur and you work with them and you see how they make every decision and how they grow their business and all the obstacles and pitfalls. And like, it changes their life. You go from sitting at my conference room table to them selling their business for $20 million. It's very different than just doing a project for a big company. And we've done that over and over, but we've stopped working with entrepreneurs as much. And so I founded Red Blue Collective to say, hey, you can get all of those strategies and tactics that I've acquired. You have access to all my manufacturing resources. You have access to my network. And I started speaking, and then I started doing a little bit of coaching. I was mentor for a couple of incubators. I started running my own incubators. We had a crazy track record for the incubators as far as like funding and growth of the people that were in it. So I started rolling, especially with what's been going on in the last year. I was like, let's just scale this up with a coaching offer and then with Ultimate Product Launch Campaign. But it's given me a place to put my personal brand, put out a ton of information through the podcast, through my website, through my Instagram, just give away information that people need to, like, I don't know, solve problems that they have, grow. And because of that, this is crazy. I have no employees, so we'll do 7 figures this year.
That's awesome, man.
Not through the courses and stuff, but people that go through and then actually hire me as either a consultant or as a coach, because I'll make their stuff. I can make pretty much anything. So when we get to that level, the numbers get a little bit better, and so I can more easily afford to do things like do the Ultimate Product Launch Campaign for free, because it's not really where I'm expecting to, make money.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome that you're putting so much free content out there, actually actionable content, things people can use, not fluff. I love it. So let's talk about ideas a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. So a lot of entrepreneurs always have a lot of ideas, and sometimes they're not that good. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, let's frame it first, because there's a temptation, especially with smart people, technical people, to view the marketplace as an equal exchange of ideas based on quality. Like, I have a good idea and it's subjectively good, like they consider it good, but great ideas lose to good ideas all the time, right? Because the business is the thing that moves value, right? There's a huge gap between objective value and perceived value, and then actual delivered value, right? So like what somebody thinks, there's a reason why Gucci can sell a $300 shirt and you can get a pack of 3 shirts at Walmart for $10, right? The gap isn't that it's made out of some magic material. It's that there's brand, there's perceived value, there's experience, there's community or identification with a community. There's all these other invisible assets that are the difference. So like when we look at ideas, we have to look at the reality of the marketplace, not just the quality of the idea. So this gets into a lot of interesting places, but understand that more than 90% of all patents don't make the money back to pay for the patent, right? They're totally uncommercialized. You can go to any university that does research and they have literal binders and binders or huge databases of uncommercialized intellectual property. And so if you're thinking like the quality of ideas, you think at the academic level, right? You can go to one of the schools that I speak at and you literally they have a commercialization tech transfer office, and they have a library of top quality, like world-class ideas that nobody can do anything with. So if you think like, hey, I had this idea in the shower, Zeus hit me with a lightning bolt, I'm going to ruin my life over it, I'm going to spend a bunch of money and pursue it because it's worth pursuing. Just understand that there's somebody who's the foremost expert in that space in the world, who's written a paper about it, probably owns a bunch of patents about it, has gotten grants to study it for millions of dollars, and they couldn't make anything of it because they don't know how to run a business.
And execute upon it, right?
They couldn't execute on it.
But also, how many of these ideas are actually tested in the marketplace beforehand? Just because I think something's a great idea doesn't mean the market's going to receive it that way.
Yep. Yeah. So end type advice on this is we don't get to choose, right? We don't get to choose what's cool, right? We don't get to choose what's good. So like we tend to confuse objective and subjective, the superlatives like that, right? You say, this is the best idea. And I'm like, okay, how many people have told you that they want to buy it? They're like, well, it doesn't exist yet. Like, well, let me show you a path to validate any idea and to get people to pre-order it at a volume which that it's worth pursuing. So that's what we break down in the framework. That's what's in the Ultimate Product Launch Campaign. Go through a process. It's really like people don't even figure out what their personal goals are. So they make ideas that end up, even if they're successful, they build businesses that they hate for people that they don't like, that sell products they don't believe in. And then they're like, Callye, why am I not fulfilled? Why don't I have energy during the day? Why can't I help this business grow? I'm like, why do you want this business to grow? You hate it, right? What would a good business look like? What would working with people that are amazing that give you energy, what would that look like? What would selling an amazing product look like? And it doesn't look like that, right? So if we look at the process and we understand what we're trying to get out of life, we can build a business that helps us get there. But we identify customers that are based on you, like communities that you associate with, people that you can relate to. We figure out what that avatar is so we can serve. First is service, right? And then to validate that service, I actually just go talk to people. We did this in the campaign, and I just have a podcast episode about this, but I literally just go ask people about their problems and say, hey, Matt, I know you're an entrepreneur and you've got a busy schedule. Can you tell me a little bit about how hard it is to complete all your tasks during the day? What's the most difficult thing that you encounter? Is it forgetting something? Is it a discipline thing? Is it a focus thing, an attention thing? And we go through that and I listen. And if I talk to 100 Matts, I start seeing patterns. And what that validates is that I have access to a bunch of people that are pretty much like me, or we have overlapping interests. I didn't spend any money. I just did it manually. I didn't do a survey, or I didn't get some industry report from Gartner. I actually just talked to people and I put it in a sheet and I say, wow, out of these people, 90% of them, one of their top 3 problems was just staying focused on the tasks at hand, right? you know it to be true, but I'm validating that I have access. I'm validating that they have the problem, that it's a top 3 problem. And I'm like, okay, they're entrepreneurs. If I can show a gain that they can get another hour of productivity a day, it's a problem worth solving. It's a good message. And then usually my idea fits somewhere in that range. So
Callye, behind the Mr. Keen, the entrepreneur, the engineer, and the public speaker, there's a family business.
Yeah.
So many of our clients are family businesses, and we'd love to pick your brain. What are the challenges that you've had working with your brother, growing with your brother, dealing with the nuances of the dinner table versus the boardroom?
Yeah, so that it is interesting. So for people that haven't run a family business, their first reaction is, "Oh, it must be nice," right? And then for anybody that does run a family business, they're like, "I feel your pain." so like it is a lot of, there's a lot of challenges. You obviously you get a lot of opportunities, but the best analogy that I give people, because most people have this experience, is, have you ever done a science fair or history fair project like with your dad or your mom?
A diorama.
Yeah. Have you ever built a diorama? Like, how much shouting or tears were there during that diorama, right? Okay. So that's what I do for a living, and I've done it for 20 years.
That is
I knew he was Italian.
That's standard in my house.
So that like frames that conversation for people. But then, although that's true, past like any humor of that, you grow up as an entrepreneur doing entrepreneurial things. And when the business needed something and somebody couldn't do it, because I grew up in an entrepreneurial family, there's something that's broken in my brain that says like, you can't do something. So when our mechanical engineer went on maternity leave, I was like, I'll learn how to do that and just do it. And then now it's like 15, 17 years later, I designed pretty technical, complex products, but it's like, there's been multiple instances like that. Being as a kid, building our website, right, in 1996. And you're like, oh, I'm building websites. And he's like, I need a website. All right, I'll build the company website. No problem. But, in retrospect, you don't really get given anything. It's just your brain's kind of broken. So you just look at it. Hey, there's an opportunity. I don't know how to do this. There's nobody to do this. I'm going to do it. Right? I'm going to grow into being our quality assurance manager, sourcing things globally instead of locally, building relationships with other businesses. Whatever it is, it's like, well, nobody's doing it and we need to do it. So why not?
I love that, man. Hey, Callye, who would you say the three most influential people in your life are?
Besides Matt and I.
Well, that's a no-brainer. Come on. Mm-hmm. Well, when I started Red Blue Collective, I especially, I was listening to the MF CEO podcast a lot, and I posted a thing, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. I'm thinking about starting this. And I got a response was, just do it. Just, forget about it. Just do it. And I was like, why not? Like, what's the downside of that? And I have to say that being in mentorship groups like that, like being in Arte, it's been very impactful. But, direct mentorship, that's really my dad's role at this point, right? He's not in day-to-day operations. My brother's the operations manager. I'm we do a lot of engineering as a service, and I do business development. So it's kind of like the two sides of what you need, outside and inside. But he's there in an advisory role. And as far as seeing how a business works, again, that's the big advantage of a family business, is like seeing how my grandfather did it, seeing how he did it. It's a huge advantage. I went to school and I have a business degree, but I can tell you don't learn really anything. So I really have to, think about that. I know a lot of people say, hey, like they listen to this or they read this and it's a big impact on them. But I don't know. I'd really have to think about my inputs and say, for each like little facet of my life, what's the most influential. But I'll give those answers right now.
Okay, we could take that, your dad and your grandfather. I mean, those two are definitely the most influential, because look at where you are right now. From the outside to me looking in, I'm sure there's other people that have influenced you at certain points in your life, but not your overall life. So it's definitely something that takes a little bit more deeper thought. So
Yeah.
I totally understand your place. So, you're manufacturing, you're running Red Blue Collective, you're coaching, you're putting products in place. Man, like Luigi said, where do you find the time?
You just block off your time. That's the thing. You just say, I do this thing at this time. And if you want to schedule a coaching discovery call for me, I use Calendly, and I only allot a certain amount of appointments to do that per week. So if somebody wants to hop on a 30-minute strategy session, they do that, but they're not going to talk to me at 2 p.m. right during the day. We're doing this during lunch, perfect time, right? But they're not going to talk to me right in the middle of my K-form day, because that's K-form time. But then I have my content time. So we batch content on Wednesdays or Thursdays, depending on what the campaign is. You just set that time aside and choose what you're going to do, right? It's like, I can only take on a couple of clients that we're actually doing the done with you service, right? And that's why I'm so interested in moving from that done for you or done with you consultant role into a coaching role, where I just show you how to do it and you develop the operational expertise to execute yourself, because it's not scalable, right? It's just, that is not scalable.
Yeah. There's only so many hours in the day to actually do that. So you can only help so many people.
Yeah.
I mean, the coaching role, it could be.
Hey, Callye, we wanted your insights, because you're very tech savvy, and you're very present, and you have a huge profile on Clubhouse, and Clubhouse has evolved over the last few months. They just got zucked recently. What's your forecast for the future of Clubhouse, and how do you foresee your presence there?
So I'll give this just as a groundwork, is that voice, it's a genie out of the bottle situation. The structure of how this works, like what it looks like, how it performs, we're not going to go backwards. If this platform succeeds, or if it's absorbed or it doesn't succeed, you're going to see equivalent features in a lot of other platforms, right? I think we all can agree with that because of the rapid success of it. But I see it. It's going to have to evolve or die. Android just came out. The primary benefit that I get from it is that it helps me just be a better communicator. It's like the podcast. When I started it thinking, oh, what am I going to talk about this week? And then now I literally could talk endlessly about those topics. I have a signature framework. I have all the questions for each step that people ask on, and I'm like, I have a list of 400 podcast topics at this point, because I go talk to people and they tell me what problems they have. They tell me what questions, and I write them down. So I could do a podcast every day for the next year and a half, and I would be fine. I wouldn't repeat content. But that's what Clubhouse lets me do as a service provider, as a coach, or as a business leader. Is like, I know what the market is saying, or what a flavor or section of the market is saying. It's given me an excuse to collaborate more with people that were already in my network, but maybe we weren't as close. And so we're doing a sales room every day, doing that with a friend of mine, Corey. I've started to do weekly rooms in the startup club. So there's about 500,000 people in that club. So we get 100, 200 people in the room every Wednesday. And that's boosted my Instagram and my Instagram engagement. It's boosted my email list. But more importantly, it shows me what that segment of the world wants. And that's fueled my decision in the past December to release a group coaching program, and then subsequently talk about the Ultimate Product Launch Campaign. Because I'm like, people keep talking to me. I'm like, this is what my monthly coaching one-on-one costs, and I realize, like, that's not reasonable for somebody that wants to get started. It's very reasonable if you run $1 million business and you want to get to 10 million. It's incredibly inexpensive. But if you run a $100,000 business, it makes zero sense, right?
Exactly.
I don't know. I'm used to the startup world, and I wasn't used to just the broad entrepreneur. Like, I want to sell beauty products. I want to sell t-shirts. I want to sell like flip-flops. I'm like, okay, well, that's cool. What can I do for this 100,000 people versus the 100 people that I work with.
Thanks, Callye. Thanks for being here, man. There's a lot of people out there like me right now that want to know more about the ultimate product launch. So where can we find it? Where can we find you? Where can we find the End Hype podcast?
Well, End Hype, if you go to endhype.buzzsprout.com, it gives you all the links, but I'm on Google, I'm on Spotify, I'm on iTunes for End Hype.
Okay.
And if you want to know more about the product launch campaign, if you go to redbluecollective.com/product launch, that's the landing page. It'll explain everything, the topics that we have week after week, and it will ask you if you'd like to join the private community where I put all the recordings and put all the content. So that way you get pinged every week. Say, hey, this is what we're going to talk about this week. Here's the Zoom link. Here's the recording from last week. Here's the information that we're going to cover, all that good stuff. So
thank you so much for being here, brother. I want to respect your time. I don't want to keep you too much longer, but I do have one more question.
Yeah.
Before we let you run, what does success look like to Callye Keen?
Freedom to play the game.
I love that. Everybody, Callye, everybody that we've had on here so far, I've heard that word numerous times, freedom.
Yeah.
And I love that answer because it's my answer as well. But hey, brother, thanks for being here. We appreciate you so much. Guys, check out Callye. Hit him up
Thank you, CK.
Instagram, Facebook. Check out the End Hype podcast, End Hype at BuzzFeed.com.
Matt, hot off the presses. We just broke the 100. We made it, CK.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks so much. Thanks, Callye.
Thanks.
See you later.
Thank you for listening to the show. And make sure you subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend. We'll see you on the next episode of The Liquid Lunch Project.